Good morning, Chris Northrup with the Upper Deck for Pinstripe Chronicles. Here with Lynn Kandrak. We're going to talk all things Yankees this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for watching in, everybody. And boy, do we have a lot to get to today.
Yeah, we have a show and a half, or if not more, but we'll try to hit the highlights for you. We wanted to kick it off talking about Joey Gallo. We noticed that one thing, he's in the lineup again today. We don't even need to say how bad he's been struggling, but we will. The numbers are absolutely awful. Not just this season, but going back to last season as well. In 69 games, he's hit 154 with a 658 OPS, 13 home runs, 22 RBIs, and none of that in 2022.
Right.
Yeah, it's been tough coming out of spring for Gallo. What do you? What's your take?
Well, 100%, and so yesterday we all saw that he had his tiny breakout. Right, he made contact with the ball and it did a thing, and he got on base. I think no one can get inside his head. But he has said repeatedly that as a hitter, he's power, and that's what he is, and that he's always going to swing for the fences, and that's his way of contributing to the team.
Right.
It won't mean that he'll get on base as often as he should, but his contribution will be those times when he could get it over the fence, in situations to get actual runs in.
Right.
And, so I wonder if he was a little bit disappointed that he played small ball for his moment yesterday.
Probably was.
But it sure was good to hear a crack of the bat from him.
Absolutely. I mean, Cohn said that pitchers could smell his lack of confidence at the plate.
Yes.
Which I thought was interesting. It was like, going for blood, because he was sending off the vibe that he was uncertain of what he was doing up there.
Right.
And he was getting booed at the stadium. Let's not forget that. I mean, that's... not
a good look.
That's a great motivator.
It could be a great motivator, or it could be a great, mind melter too, depending on who you are. And I'm not so sure that Gallo has that, sort of acumen where he could use it for. But maybe it worked. I'm not saying anyone watching should continue to boo him from here on out.
Right.
Because I just think that's never acceptable from a fan base. But, it's just, I felt bad, and I do feel bad for him. Because, I actually, I believe in him still. He wasn't my favorite, bring over guy. I had my doubts, like many of us did. And those doubts, unfortunately, continue to be confirmed. But at the same time, something changed. And we could talk about what that factor was. I mean, he was a rock star.
Yeah.
In Texas, right? He was rock star. All right. That's a little
hitting for average, but he was hitting his home runs.
It was certainly not in the 100s. in batting average.
No, he's hitting 136 right now.
Which, I mean, I haven't even checked the stats for where he is in the MLB, but it's got to be in the bottom 3 or 5 at this point.
It can't be good, no. However, as we said, Saturday, he went 1 for 3, and he scored a run, which is good.
Yes.
We're just happy to see Gallo getting maybe some momentum today. I'm surprised Boone didn't freaking sit him, since he sits the hot hand with such regularity that it makes me rant.
Well, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's interesting. I noted when I looked at the lineup, and I know we're going to talk about him also. Not only did I think it was interesting that Gallo was on, I thought it was interesting that Glaber has moved up in the order. And so that's another one, right, Chris? We saw.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about what we saw in Glaber yesterday?
Yeah, Glaber came off the bench, right, to do some damage. And I mean, it's just wonderful to see him get into one.
Yeah. And now
give him some confidence.
Absolutely. And so just like we were saying about Gallo, I think for sure that boy, did that light the fire under Glaber. I mean, that was clear. His whole body language running those bases and signaling to the dugout, like, I'm back, baby. You know, you first want to say, okay, slow your roll. You got trouble. But at the same time, good. Like, you know, use that fire in your belly. And so I thought it was interesting that they have him in the 5 spot today.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's a signal, like, okay, we believe in you.
Yeah.
You know, keep it going. To like put them there to me.
Yeah.
Because if the top of the order does what they're supposed to do and at least sets a table, you know, until yesterday, would we have wanted Glaber there after the DH?
Right.
And so I think it's a little bit of a you know, they're challenging him to repeat yesterday.
Yeah. And a little bit of a reward, you know.
And that as well.
And I want to say that we're not really getting down on Gallo and Glaber. I mean, they're struggling to get started. Alex Fast tweeted out this week that there are currently 56 batters in MLB at or below 200, and that the league batting average as a whole is 231. The league is struggling as a whole with batting, with hitting.
Yeah.
What's your response to, are those excuses or?
No, there's no way statistically or what we know historically about, you know, the league and you know, especially, and obviously speaking about the current players in the league, we have too many high performing players distributed across the major league. It's not all Yankees. It's not all Dodgers or the Giants or the Jays. And so, yeah, is it an aberration, or, you know, or is there something else going on? And so then that leads you down the speculation path, which we love to be on, and we're almost always put on. You know, so the overperformance was blamed on the juiced ball.
Yes. So now the underperformance.
What's the blame?
Exactly.
What's the blame?
The dead ball.
Okay, so talk about that then.
Well, everyone's blaming you know, claiming that the MLB has got been deadened balls because this is the lowest batting average in the history of baseball, dating back to 1871. I mean, it's not anyone's imagination. The balls are not flying out of the ballparks there's a historic low in home runs right now. Right. But, well, you know, all right, so do hitters just adjust? Is that, I think, what the response should be, knowing that it's a dead ball? Change their approaches?
Well, that was the expectation over the sticky stuff, right?
That's right, yes.
Just adjust.
Yes.
You know, but other than the dead ball, the only thing that would be a difference would be, you know, the shortened spring training.
Yes.
And
True.
So how much does that get considered here?
Yeah.
What kind of an impact do we see in that? And again, just within the Yankees context, it certainly didn't affect our pitching. Pitchers had an even shorter season than they usually do, since they always come back first.
Right.
And so, but we don't see the statistical differences that we're seeing with the hitting. So that's why, so I think we crossed that off the list.
Yeah.
Right away. It's not about the shortened spring training.
Right.
And we've also seen enough about what players did in the meantime during the lockout. And if they're being truthful about that, they were training themselves, as you would expect multimillionaire, payees doing. And so, so what is it about the ball?
Yeah.
And how do we even get, how do organizations get that conversation going, or get them to acknowledge it?
Right.
The way the sticky stuff, got in the works.
I know.
And just to investigate it.
Yeah. Well, and then yesterday the Cubs go and score 21 and shut out the Pirates. I believe they shut them out.
Yeah,
so, I mean, every time baseball, that's baseball, Susan.
Yeah. Cubs of all teams, really?
Really, the Cubs? All right, I know.
This is the time.
Yeah.
Show up.
Oh my God! But I want to pick up on something that you threw out there, and that is our starting pitching. Wow, what a season our starting pitching is having. With one notable exception so far.
Right. Yeah, both the starting and the pen.
Yes.
And so that's another thing that's been taken away from us because we can't blame bad pitching for poor offense.
No.
At all. And so, we can't blame losing on the pitching.
No.
We can only entirely blame losing on the lack of offense.
Yes.
And so, but yet some teams are figuring out how to beat us regardless. Right. I mean, and that's the other big trend, Chris, right? Other than the Cubs, and talk about an aberration.
Yes.
I mean, that would be unheard of for, the toppest performing teams in MLB. But
Dodgers, for God's sake.
Yeah, exactly. But this has to be also a record season on the lowest score games.
I wonder about that.
I want to dig into that, but I know at least for our losses, they haven't been, other than the shutout during the week, which again, when Detroit shut us out, it was like 3 runs.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a blowout; it was a shutout.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's something I'm going to dig into. It's come to think of it, it just popped into my head. But I've been seeing low scoring wins and tight games. Yeah. Within that.
Now, was that the day Monty pitched? Because he got no run support.
None.
And he pitched a gem. 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, or 1 run, 2 base on balls, 5 Ks. I mean, he's just doing it out there. 6 innings is a good number. They've all been going 5 or 6 innings now.
Right. Yep.
I mean, on Friday night versus the Guardians, Tyone went 5 innings. He had some tough innings. He gave up the home run ball. He had some runners on base, but overall, even Tyone is looking good.
Yes.
Nestor.
Yeah, Nestor.
Do you want to talk about Nestor?
Yeah, for sure. So, Nestor went the solid 6, and then got pulled, and things didn't go well afterwards. And so, I think that there needs to be a little bit more trust when your pitcher says, I got more in me.
Yeah.
Like I heard Sevy said to Boone,
Yeah.
When he was pulled, I got one more in me.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, had they listened to Nestor, would the seventh have gone the way it went?
Yeah.
I don't know. And of all pitchers, you know, Nestor, like we said the other day when we were on with our fellow Pinstripe Chronicle guys, Nestor will pitch, you know, 24/7, whether anyone's watching or not, whether there's a batter or not.
Right.
So, like, you know, at least let him start, and if the first couple of pitches look shaky, you know. So, but you know, Nestor overall, and to hear it said on Yes was a thrill for me yesterday, because Jack Curry called him out in particular, and said that he's the ace of the moment for the team.
He is. He is the ace of the moment.
Yeah, and you know, and there's just nothing, that he's basically unstoppable.
Yeah.
And that, you know, he has a gift that really can't be taught, in the sense that, and this wasn't Curry, this is Lynn now, that he knows how to keep those hitters off balance. Yeah. There's no like sequence to his sequence.
Right.
And so
he's the master of surprise.
Exactly. You know, most pitchers, you'll know, okay, you know, fastball, curveball, slider, you know, but he'll throw in the change when he needs, you know, so, you know, and so that's an element that's invaluable.
Yes.
And so when we talk about fear in baseball, I think he's the one on the mound that people dread now.
I do.
I think he's that face.
Yes, I agree with you.
And more so than any of the others, and not taking away anything from Monty,
right,
and Sevi at all. So.
Right, and Nestor, in 3 starts this season, he has a 1.50 ERA, 7 hits, 2 runs, 3 base on balls in 15 innings, and 25 Ks. I mean, that he's just so impressive in his first 3 starts. He hasn't missed a beat.
Yep. And I know, I hear some voices in my ear saying small sample size, but you know, right now he's Cy Young.
Yeah, I know.
He is a Cy Young candidate. And knowing his consistency and his history of the consistency, if this is how he's starting off,
right,
you know, what the projections look like are very exciting.
And last but not least, Cole.
Yes.
He's had a difficult start to the season, unquestionably. He's made some excuses, whether they're good excuses or not, I have no idea. But we'd rather than have excuses that have him heat up and start striking people out in the first inning and not give up first inning home runs or any home runs.
Right.
So Cole, he's been a disappointment, I think, for most fans up to this point. Yeah,
disappointing. And a bit of a surprise, although we did see plenty foreshadowing at the end of the season last year, you know, and particularly after Spidergate, right? So, you know, and he doesn't have that excuse anymore. Everyone else has gotten their workaround on that. And you're not seeing, you know, the difference in the other aces in the league. So it's always been more than that. It really wasn't about the sticky stuff, like he was saying and we were accepting.
Yeah.
And so then what is it? And to be clear, I'm not anti-Cole. No. I'm not anti that, you know, bringing him on and paying him what we're paying him. You know, that was money that was legitimate to spend at the time. We were still in the not so great pitching situation. And we did need a face of pitching And so he came over, and he was immediately that credibility.
Right.
But, you know, he's not our ace of the moment.
Right.
And you just know without knowing him that it's killing him. And that's when I worry about, you know, the impact, the mentality of the game.
Right.
You know, because if you're living rent free in your own head, which I'm sure he is, you know, and
Yes,
from that first mistake, it's game over.
Yeah.
For him. And, you know, the first innings are always, you know, the tell.
Yeah.
And we've just been seeing bad first innings so far. And so, yeah, big concerns.
Big concerns. I mean, he does right the ship after a fashion. You know, in the second inning or whatever, he does seem to get control of things as he goes on. And in fact, he said that at the last outing when Boone took him out, you know, early, that he felt like he should have worked through, or at least he gave the impression in the after post-game interviews that he would have preferred to work through the problems. But, you know, anyway, I don't know. That's between him and Booney. But
well, yeah, it is, but it isn't, because, you know, he said that publicly, and, you know, the thing is, you have to also know when to step off the mound, and in the middle of a game isn't the time to work it out either.
You're probably right. That's a good point.
The opposite of what I just said about Nestor being pulled too early. You know, the call was that, you know, it was the best for the game and for him, but so then it works in the opposite direction. And, you know, instead of thumping his glove 8 times in anger and stomping off the mound,
right,
you know, which at first I thought, well, he's really disappointed himself and angry at you know why he's being taken out because of him.
Yeah.
And, you know, now I think it's more about what you just said. You know, he kind of showed those cards.
Right.
And so, you know what? Own up, man. Like, you know, take the accountability and then do something with it.
Yeah.
We have a good pitching coach now.
Yeah.
I think Matt Blake, you know, has made a difference. And, you know, so.
And you have, sorry to interrupt, but you've got a better defense behind you.
Yes.
Than you had last year. There's that, you know, to consider also.
That's right. And although the defense isn't performing offensively, why aren't we at least seeing a good pitching duel then?
Yeah.
Why aren't we having games, you know, that are still 0-0 in the 6th, 7th, and 8th?
Yeah.
You know, so there's only so much you could blame on the poor offense.
Yep.
If he were able to hold the other side down.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping today that Cole has a strong outing, that he's able to, you know, control the first inning result, and perhaps not. I mean, I'm not saying that he can't give up a hit, but please, no more first inning home runs, please.
Right.
Cole.
Right.
I mean, I'm on my knees here.
Right. And you know what? I don't care really how many Ks. Just give me some consistently through the innings.
Yes.
And you know, and know when it's time. Like, know when it's time to, like, get a timeout.
Yeah.
You know, pitchers can do that too. Pitchers can,
right,
you know, want to talk to their catcher. Want to, you know, why is it always the catcher coming out to him? Which also I'm not seeing really any of. You know, it seems like Higgy isn't doing that anymore. And that used to be more frequent. That makes me wonder about their, you know, how they've, you know, worked things out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, he really is, look, it was a breakout day yesterday. And so hopefully it'll be another breakout today, and this will be Cole's day.
Right.
And And, we want that sweep. We haven't swept. And that's going to be another thing on his head.
You brought up another interesting point there that we don't want to gloss over, and that is Higgy's not in the lineup on a full pitching day.
Yes.
We have Trevino, the new guy, who's been providing some offensive thrust, actually, and he's been performing behind the plate. They talk about his framing of pitches, what a good framer he is. So it's interesting to see that Cole is getting a little mix-up today of his routine, and maybe that's a good thing. But in spite of Cole, I just want to point out that Justin Shackle of John Boy Media said that the Yankees starting pitchers have a 1.90 ERA in the last 10 games. So even in spite of Cole's struggles, the Yankee pitchers have a 1.90 ERA, and that's just spectacular.
When would we have ever expected or dreamt of hearing that?
Exactly. And said that Cole was struggling.
That too.
Yeah.
But it's been our number one cries probably since 2009.
Yeah.
And but it's also been our number one excuse why it's been since 2009.
That's true.
And there's the rub. But to your point, that's amazing. And it's also maddening.
Yes.
That we finally have what we've been grumbling about and pushing for. And now we have, a frigid offense.
Right. 3 shutouts. To start the season.
With shutouts from teams, again,
right.
Detroit was another gimme. And so Baltimore and Detroit, they took us.
Yeah.
They didn't take series, but they took us. So
yeah. We didn't look good.
It's not a good look.
No.
And there's a lot of not good looks on us right now.
Except, but to expand on the pitching point, our bullpen has also been outrageously good.
Yes.
The Yanks bullpen has a 2.08 bullpen ERA, which ranks first in the American League and second in MLB. That from Talking Yanks.
Again, when would we ever get what we ask for? And now we have it. We're not just as in with the starting pitching, we say and Cole's struggling. We can say with the bullpen and Chapman hasn't got going yet. And Chapman has not got going yet.
Right.
And we'll talk about Green after Chapman. Yeah. But at least, when have we ever had more than one closer?
Right. Well, we've got Britain on the IL at the moment,
Right.
Yeah.
And yet, if we don't use Chapman, and there's a few times we haven't so far.
Right.
You have Loizaga.
Yeah.
And I know there's been some missteps very recently. I don't take them seriously at all from him. You have Lookie, you have Holmes, and
right.
Green.
Absolutely.
So, that's another, treasure trove that we've never had before.
Oh my God. And not to mention Michael King. I can't say enough, quote enough from the experts, but Katie Sharp said he's the first Yankee reliever with at least 8 strikeouts, 0 walks, and 0 runs allowed in a game since Ron Davis on May 4th, 1981. 81!
Wow.
And that's in some great teams in between.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's remarkable. And, Katie Sharp's not someone I discount.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, and so I would take those numbers. And, I think perhaps he needs to be promoted to emperor at this point. if he continues this way.
Right. He's
And
only a rock star in my book, but
absolutely, he'd sell out in every arena. But the thing is, he's that good at the moment that there's already talk about, well, perhaps he should be the fifth guy. And as rich as the bullpen is, I think we're heavy loaded on guys that we want to leverage late in the game.
Yeah.
And they've never really filled the gap that Nestor left behind, which is our, sort of long middle inning reliever. And we saw what King did in that situation. And so, and perhaps he could go back and forth like Nestor did for a time last year.
Perhaps he could make the spot start, sure.
Yeah, in those situations. We don't know what IL,
Right.
is going to look like at any point.
We don't know whether he might be an opener someday, where there's
Right.
that strategy being employed.
Right.
As far as him being a starter anytime soon, Boone has said he's too valuable in the role he's in now. So I don't think we'll see that anytime right now, but it's definitely, like you said, who knows with what the future brings as far as injury, anything's possible. So he's there, he's available to be in the starting role should that be necessary. But oh boy, is he lighting it up where he's at it right now.
Yes. Yep. And thoughtful about it too, and has a good perspective about it as well. And so that's clear when he talks to the press after games.
Yeah.
And so I do agree with Boone, and that's what I was starting out, basically saying that, let's keep him where he is, because it doesn't preclude that we could have him, like you said, as an opener or as stepping in, if God forbid, and I'm not suggesting it to the universe, we're in that situation where we need to put someone in the rotation,
right,
for a spell. But I'm going to timestamp, it's 11:30 on April 24th, that I agree with Aaron Boone on this.
Yeah, exactly. It's the moments are rare. So that I'm glad you pointed that out, and we got that on the record. Another player who's fast becoming a rock star to fans is IKF, otherwise known as Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, or Flaffle, as we've been calling him in this house, when we can't get his name out fast enough.
I'm concerned about how his name will fit on my jersey.
Yeah. He's coming next, huh?
You know what? I put a poll up yesterday, who should be my next jersey, and I put whether it should be Cortez or Kiner-Falefa, and it was overwhelmingly Nestor.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know, after what IKF did.
Absolutely.
There's going to be plenty of Nestors on backs, and so, but I worry about how he's going to fit back there. And then I remembered Higashioka fits back there, so he should be good even with the hyphen.
Oh my God. Remember Gerald Salta Lamacchia? If that fits back.
Yes. Yep. And I was a huge Pags fan. Number 13, third base.
Yep.
In the 80s, and Pagliarulo fit back there. So, but it, face it, it's a name that doesn't flow off the tongue.
That's true.
And even the commentators are saying largely IKF.
Yeah.
Too. So, but yeah, I mean, so great to see him really settle.
Yes.
And get over what self-admittedly was sort of playing scared.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, pitchers smell that the way predators smell blood.
Yep.
And so but he's shaking that off more and more.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this guy, he grew up a Yankee fan. He dreamt of playing shortstop for the Yankees.
Right.
So, he needed a second.
Yeah.
But now he's arrived and living the dream.
Living the dream.
And he really is the shortstop, designee or the heir apparent, whatever you want to call it.
Not only that, but he's knocking out, with his numbers.
Yes.
Correa, Seager, and Story. He's outperforming Correa, Seager, and Story. Just one stat alone that I looked at that was a tweet by @StantonTruther, is that Isaiah Kiner-Falefa he's just knocking it out of the park right now. He's got a 119 WRC plus, which is weighted runs created. I'll explain that in a minute. Correa, all right, he has 119. Correa has 74. Seager's at 88, and Story's at 59.
You love to see it.
Yeah, and what weighted runs created works like batting average in terms of the higher it is, the better it is. But what that is, in case you're not familiar with it, and I'm not a genius, I Googled it. It takes into account how valuable a hitter is at creating runs and then adjusts it to both park and league factors. So, as I say, we don't need to go into what, the deep dive on this or anything, but we got the better of the deal from the free agent signings. Cashman's looking like a genius right now. Again.
Yeah. I'm not going to timestamp that because.
Yeah, I know, because I never say that, but.
No, that's just me. Like, I was willing to give Boone that, but I'm not in the mood ever to give Cashman anything. And so, yeah, that's the current picture that makes you want to say, okay, grumblers, booyah, I was never a team Correa. I was on the Story bandwagon for a while. You and I think we're both pro Freddie Freeman.
Oh yeah.
And although that's first base we're talking about there, but
yeah.
But it's a good lesson, isn't it? Even if it's not for all season, it's a good lesson that you don't rely just on the stats.
No.
Although we're relying on them right now, making our point, but. Yeah. There's a superstar in the making everywhere.
Yes.
All the time.
Yeah.
And all they need is that opportunity.
That's
and
right.
Sometimes more often than not, they won't take it.
Right.
But we have one that's taking it.
Yeah.
And so let's foster it. Let's, support him. I hope the team does right for him and doesn't break him.
Yep.
Like others before. And so very excited about him. I haven't been excited about a new acquisition in a while.
Yeah.
The way I'm excited about him. I have really high hopes.
Yeah, I was disappointed to see him out there every day until recently because I was Team Correa, and I still don't freaking understand why Correa is not on this team. All right, whatever. But I'm slowly but surely becoming a fan of IKF. He's just wonderful. He's poised at the plate these days. He's getting his hits, getting on base. He's fast. In the field, he makes the plays. He's just, he's definitely coming along. He's not Derek Jeter yet, but none are. So like Lynn said, let's give him a chance. Let's get behind him. And I hope to see him in the lineup and at shortstop, every day. No moving around all of this.
So that takes away one of the dominoes, in this chess game we've been playing across the horn.
That's right.
So, that also helps. And it doesn't do anything to DJ because DJ wasn't the shortstop plug-in, although he could do anything.
Yeah.
He's the other man. He's the other breakout man.
Yeah.
We just take it for granted. And yeah, but yeah, I think good things to come. Hopefully, great things to come. I'll take the good. I'll take that he's not a power hitter again. Because he's he's contributed to probably the higher percentage of the runs we have had in the first 15 games.
Yes.
And that was by small ball, smart base running. Yep. He steals appropriately, unlike some others that have been like, my forehead is sore.
I know.
Already. Hits Donaldson. What the heck, Donaldson?
I know. Why is Donaldson stealing bases?
Unsignaled. Like, this is the moment for you?
I know.
And you have no speed. You have no business.
None.
You finally got on base. We were happy with you.
Right.
I'd be talking about him differently today because he got on base.
Yeah.
He's another one that we've been thirsty for.
Right.
So, yeah, full package we're seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, looking at today's lineup, it's interesting because DJ LeMahieu's leading off and he's playing third base today. So anytime I see him off second, that pisses me off. But that's just me. Judge is in right, Rizzo at first, Donaldson's DHing today, Torres at second base. So he's getting a reward for his hit yesterday.
Yes.
But plus, if you're going to get Torres going, he's got to play. I mean,
right.
He cannot just ride the bench and expect him to, gain any momentum. Gallo in left, and of course, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at shortstop, but also Trevino at catcher, which we found interesting as well.
Right.
What are you expecting from today's game?
So, just noting that Hicks is out of the lineup. And so I'm wondering if we're going to be seeing more of that or if this is just another, juggling act. I'm expecting, this is actually, we've seen this order before, with the exception of where Glaber is in the 5 spot.
Yes.
And it's been my favorite, and I think it's been the most productive.
Okay.
I feel good about this lineup. Yeah. I think having DJ leading off, I was a big opponent of it last season, but now I know why. And so it was unfair, but I just didn't know.
Right.
Did any of us know that he was injured most of the season?
We did not.
And so, but he's doing what we would expect leading off. And so I'm solid
again.
Exactly. I'm solid there. I'm always solid despite, lukewarm performances of late. I'm always solid with Stanton DHing.
Stanton's out today.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. That's right. He's out.
That's all right. It's Donaldson today.
Donaldson. I'm not so okay with that.
Donaldson's struggling. I mean, he's one of the ones who's not having his best start off to the season.
Right. Exactly. I don't mind him at third base, but
But you know what? I just want to throw this out there about Donaldson. I looked at his numbers, and he hits home runs. He doesn't hit for average. He doesn't hit for contact.
So he's Gallo.
So when Donaldson's not hitting, he's just not got the power stroke going.
Okay.
I don't know that's going, when that's going to change, but I don't expect to see him bunting to get on base. Do you?
I hope I don't see that the way I hope to never see him try to steal again.
I know. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting though, like, why isn't the mob circling him the way it's circling Gallo?
Yeah.
You basically just described Gallo.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
And anyone could break out at any time. And we don't know Donaldson as a Yankee as well. But
yeah, Donaldson, I put this list together on Friday, but at that point he was batting 191. So you're right. Why aren't people on Gallo's back the way they are on Donaldson's back?
Right.
The way they are on Gallo. But, one thing I wanted to point out too is I kept seeing all these, let's trade Gallo and sign Michael Conforto from the free agent from the Mets.
The guy that no one has picked up yet?
And then he had shoulder surgery yesterday. And I thought, I'm sorry for the guy, but I'm so glad that rumor is put to rest. Yes. Finally, he's not coming to the Yankees.
Right. Although maybe some people are still waiting after he's rehabbed in a year and they'll still be crying for him.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
I don't get it. I think we were just at the point of scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
And so he solved that for us.
Yep.
But and LeCastro. Can we talk about LeCastro for a second too?
Yes.
Because, what's this, LeCastro would be the better guy for us.
Yes.
And that hasn't proven out in the snapshots that we've had of him. So when are we going to let that go? What are your thoughts on LeCastro?
He's fast. I remember yesterday they had a stat that he was like the amazingly fast sprinter or something. I forget. I didn't memorize it.
Right.
We don't have a lot of fast guys. So he could fill in as the pinch runner, which is what he does.
Right.
But as for his bat, I don't think we could expect a lot there.
Right.
And, playing in the outfield, all right, fine. But, I think his greatest use would be his speed on the bases.
Right.
If he could get on base, if he could hit.
Well, and if we could afford, with the roster is going to be smaller in a minute too. Yep. So, if we could afford that spot, then that would make sense because then that's making up for Wade and Gardy.
That's right. But then don't forget about Marwin Gonzalez.
That's right.
Basically taking up that extra outfield spot.
Right. And so if you're going to choose between Gonzalez and LeCastro,
right.
For me at the moment, it's Gonzalez.
Yeah.
But I could be, be wrong. We haven't seen so much of him either.
Yeah. No, we haven't yet.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a wrap for us today. I expect a good game from the Yankees. I know I'll be rooting for Cole to have a kick-ass game.
Yes.
His best so far. And I'm hoping bats wake up and keep the sweep alive and that we actually accomplish that.
Yes. And I just hope that it's a positive game.
Yeah.
And I hope that it's positive, not just because of a win. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I think anyone watching could see maybe the implicit point there.
Yes.
I just hope it's a good game, well played by all Yankee people.
Yes.
And yes, we need that sweep. Okay, I'm expecting that small scores. That's okay.
Yeah.
But we need this sweep against another team that we should be owning.
Yeah.
And so, let's have a happy week ahead on a good note.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on spending part of your day with us on Sunday. I'm Chris Northrup signing off.
And I'm Lynn. Also, and Chris, thanks for another, great time together. And to all of you that watch, we so appreciate that you continue to check us out every week. Check us out on YouTube, sportinarian.com, on the Roku channel. And don't forget to click subscribe when you see us on YouTube. And most of all, don't forget to comment when our show comes out. Let us know what you want to know about. Let us know what you're thinking and what you're reacting to, whether it's about anything we discussed today or other things. We're really here, to represent, the fan base.
Yeah.
And where you're at with everything.
Yep.
And we'd love to be able to share that, to a larger audience. So in the meantime, have a great week. Remember to sit in your reserved seat on the upper deck because it's always there for you. And let's go Yankees.
Go Yankees.